This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jambo, a warm welcome to you in the Masai Mara of Kenya. We have hippos swimming in this beautiful Mara River. Welcome aboard to your very own safari, live from the African wilderness. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Masai Mara here. We have some hippos busy swimming. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. It's that time of the year when we're almost receiving some rains, and soon this water levels here at the Mara River will soon begin to rise up. So remember, we're coming to you live, #WildEarth, for your question and comments. For kids, you can send our questions to kidsquestion@wildearth.tv, and on the YouTube comment section at FC. Please send us your comments and questions. We'll always be ready to answer them. What a very beautiful scene here. Those hippos are enjoying this weather and enjoying the water there. Sometimes becomes very, very difficult for this, because when the water levels go down like it's happening now, they all congregate in one spot, and sometimes that can be very, very vicious for the youngsters and also the young bulls that are not tolerated by the dominant bulls. Thank you for your question. What happens with hippo is that it's not really a coalition, so older bulls will not tolerate younger bulls. So you find one dominant bull will be amongst about 20 females. So until his time to be out of that particular pod or group of hippos is over, then there'll be a fight. So mostly the bulls don't form a coalition. We don't have a coalition amongst hippos. So the younger bulls that are within that raft or pod will always be submissive to the dominant bull. I can say that's a happy family there. So as you watch these hippos enjoying these waters, let me take you over to another live location.
Jambo, everyone. A lovely afternoon. Welcome to my side of the Mara Triangle, Masai Mara. I have your first animal of the day. From my side, this is the topi. An antelope that's very fast, can outrun very many animals. My name is Isaac, and on camera is Bungei. Our mission this afternoon is try and find some cats, but we'll start with what we have found here. A beautiful, beautiful small herd of, they have lots and lots of young ones. Looks like this is a kindergarten or a babysitting club, because there is a lot. The ratio of young to adults is almost the same. Looking at those guys here, there on the frame, they're about 2 months. They still got their full colors, and they're still, they're gonna turn and get those blotches on their flanks and the front legs, and they're going to look like that. Mostly young ones are dropped in the months of September and October, and a few in November. So there are still those late ones that are going to be born this month. Topi is one of our large antelopes, can weigh up to around 200 kilos, and they roam the plains of Masai Mara and the Serengeti, so they do migrate. Is that Gabon? Gabon, I don't know if I got your name right. They live for around 12 to 18 years. Dab-on, thank you, cute name. They live for around 12 to 18 years. That one heading away looks very, very pregnant, ready to drop its calf. So they live a very long time. They do migrate to the Serengeti and back, but we have the resident ones. Of course, I'm not going to ignore the bachelor zebra at a distance there, happily grazing. The topis mainly feed on grass and small shoots on the ground. It's not a water-dependent animal. It can go for a few days without drinking. So every about 3-4 days, it needs a drink. See those ones there? I would say they are ready to drop their calves anytime. These are the late ones. They mated late, so they are going to give birth late. This is an animal I respect with speed and keen eyesight, rarely hunted by any predators. Yes, such a beautiful sight, but I have to take you to another live location.
So warm welcome to and Beyond in Gala. I'm Nikki, I'm going to be your ranger for this afternoon, and on camera we have Owen. Now, just to give you a bit of an idea where we are driving at the moment, so we are on the northern side of that beautiful Timbavati River, so that's just off to our right. And what we've seen is earlier on this morning there were reports of a leopard somewhere in this area, and the tracks that we saw were coming down towards this area here. Now you'll see it's still nice and open, but as we carry on with this road and we get closer towards another side of the river, the trees start becoming quite large, and that's where we're going to look. Also here, I mean, the leopard could be anywhere here, but that's where we last had the track. So we're going to go all the way there, and then hopefully be able to see some leopard this afternoon. But of course, whatever we can find, also a nice bonus. Now, while we're driving, there's a few of these mud wallows that are around at the moment, so I just wanted to quickly stop here. There's also a very interesting frog species that we could see. Now, just imagine in the heat of the day how animals like buffalo, maybe elephants, can come down, and the buffalo come and lay down here in the water, and the elephants come and splash them. But look at the very top of this tree. You'll notice there's a very interesting, it looks like a foam ball. Now that is made by the southern foam nest frog, and what it will do is when the males and the females mate, they secrete this very sticky substance, and then it's frothed up by the female and the male, and the eggs are then laid inside that foam nest, And as soon as the youngsters then develop, they drop into the water. And it does have quite a bit of benefits because it's a very... It forms like a protective layer so that the eggs at least won't dry because of the sun, and also it keeps them out of the water for longer, avoiding the risk with other predators. So it's just helping to increase their survival. But just looking around, see if there's any other interesting things we might see around here. Even like the odd occasion you'll find the water coming down to roll down in the mud and then move. You can see here there were some elephants that came earlier. See those big tracks in the mud from elephants.
Welcome back to our beautiful Mara River. I can see the water levels, actually not quite sure, but increasing slowly because it seems like it's been raining upstream. Our November rains, our short rains are here, which always last for about 4 to 5 weeks, which is very, very nice. At that corner there, I can see a hippo family there. Could be young bulls trying to tussle or wrestle. Hippos always enjoy when the water levels get up high because sometimes hippos, because they defecate in water, the hippo poop or hippo dung sometimes can pile up to about 1/2 meter. Can you imagine that being piled up or covered in dung? So that can be a little bit gross for some people, but that also increases or brings nutrients to the aquatic life, especially the fish, the catfish that we have around here. So when it rains, that hippo dung is washed downstream. And you find sometimes, because of the fresh water, you find that they really love it. I'm sure everyone loves the rain, everyone loves when the water levels go up high, but not when it's too strong. Like I once said, this area is always controlled by one big bull. Rosalind, thank you so much for your question. Hippos in size can weigh up to about 2 tons. And in height, they can be about to 1 meter or a meter and a quarter. So to the level of this jeep, a hippo can be to that level here and weigh about 2 tons. So you can imagine what you see. So that water level is over 1.5 meters. Sometimes you find hippos will just submerge and then come up for air. Very big animals. This area is always controlled by one dominant bull who covers sometimes even 4 or 5 kilometer stretch. And you find most of the time he defecates or marks his territory. Females and youngsters don't mark their territory, or they don't what you call dung splatter. So they do not splatter the dung on the edges of this river or whenever they walk. It's always very nice watching hippos as they enjoy the waters. You can see their little ears and eyes popping up in for air and then going submerged. Very, very nice. What a nice place to sit and just watch these beautiful animals.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. We're sitting here in the Mulwati with our resident spotted eagle owl, Mrs. Wig. Sadly, we've still not got a view of the chick, which is not ideal, but at least if we sit here, we may get a small view. My name is Lauren, and I do have Niels on camera today, and we have a lot of relief here in the Lowveld. It's nowhere near as hot as it has been the past few days. It's cool, slightly overcast. There's a nice breeze, which is just delightful. Now we check on Mrs. Wig and Owl Livia. I love that name every single day, but sadly today we've got absolutely no view of Owl Livia, which is slightly frustrating because it's very hard to track the development. It's rapid development in these spotted eagle owls, and they change on a daily basis. So I do have my daily sketch, which I'll come to in just a bit, but it would be really, really good if we could see the chick, and then at least we would be able to say, okay, it's possibly around this age mark, possibly around this age mark, but right now we don't have a single view. I don't actually even know where the chick is. Mum must be blocking it. The protective mum that Mrs. Wig is. And normally around about day 10, she'll start to spend more time away. So I'm still trying to pinpoint exactly what day we're on. But I think we're approaching that point, if not slightly past it. And therefore, when we do come back and we do keep visiting Mrs. Wig, one day we're going to find the chick on its own. James got lucky with that a few days ago, but now we need to see what stage of development this eagle owl is at. It's so magical having this here. And I'm also beginning to wonder if the Djuma clan of hyenas have moved dens. I cannot see any signs of them. Urination, bones, feces anywhere around the den anymore. So I think today is the perfect day, because it's not too hot, to do a den check. Elizabeth, you're saying, "Oh, Olivia, come out and see us." Yes, please. You have a name now. It's a beautiful name. Do you like it, Mrs. Wig? She's not sure. I don't know whether the chick's at the back or the rear end of her body. I really don't know. But sometimes, well, actually, every time patience pays off. So I think we will just sit here for a little bit. We're not disturbing her. And see if we can get any views. And of course, if we do get any views, you'll be right back with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome aboard to your very own live safari from the African wilderness here in Djuma Private Game Reserve this afternoon. Kind of like a pretty great weather conditions. Temperature sitting on 24 degrees, 84 Fahrenheit. What a beautiful sighting. We visit the position of Talamba. As you can see, Talamba is the name of a leopard, sitting in the middle of the thicket, which doesn't look like she's going to go anywhere right now. My name is Andrew. On camera, I have heard this afternoon. So we're going to be taking you for the daily drive for the past few hours. We came to this very position of Talamba since she was seen this morning around here. And we look around where she had a kill. A baby impala still hanging up in a tree where we can't take you through right now because then it's out of reach. We actually slightly far distance from where that kill is. But yeah, she hasn't eaten anything there. It seems like it was this morning. She's probably going to store there. Well, it's quite a little shade of marula is green around here. I don't think it's going to get any rotten soon. But nothing open, so it's safe. Nothing else going to smell that in terms of bird of prey or hyena or scavengers. So she done very good in that.
what I heard from Gert, and looks like they left her in this thicket here. When we look in that tree, we don't see her, but we could see the kill is still hanging up. And I thought that, she's gone. She won't return. And then we actually doubted to come into this position here where they left her, because then if she hadn't eaten in that, I thought maybe she would be pushing on in another hunt again. But it's probably that she had eaten before she killed that impalas. Well, it's a baby impala. She could maybe done it more for the past hours before she gets into that one. You can see a little foot movement, spot pattern. So I and Gert are going to stick in this position, see what this leopard going to do for us.
Good afternoon and welcome to Tswalu Kalahari. Bright blue skies with a temperature of about 30 today. We are at a watering hole and I've been looking around here. There's some tracks of what looks like there's been lions, and that's what we're going to be following on. From here, we thought they would be drinking. Behind the camera there, we've got Dave doing a very excellent job. So guys, let's try find these guys. I don't think they'll be too far because it would be activity from this morning that they came through, walked here. It looks like a female that might be with cubs, and these cubs are about 8 months, I would say. It's not the tiny cubs of the Southern Pride that we usually go after. So I think it's that female with the cubs that are about 8 months. So we're gonna stick in this area, look around, and hopefully we come right. They should be under a shade wherever we find them, maybe dozing off for the afternoon. And they could actually come back and come drink before they actually start doing anything for the afternoon. So with that thought, I'm going to love and leave you and send you off to another beautiful property in Africa.
Still no views, I'm afraid. But I'm going to wait it out. And many of you know that I've been shown diagrams. So I'm going to show you day number 12 now. Now, excuse the drawings. They're, well, I'm not an artist for a reason, but we'll start at the top. So this is day number 12, and I'm not completely convinced we're at day number 12 yet, and this is what I want to check. If any of you saw the sighting with James, the chick is still very much, it's upright now, but it's not standing on its own 2 feet. It's very much squatting. So it's managing to hold its spine upright and balance the head, because the head is disproportionately large, but it's not standing. And they say by day 12, it should be standing on its own 2 feet here. So although it will still spend most of its waking moments squatting, absolutely, it can stand in a fully upright position. However, when they sleep, they still assume pretty helpless positions. So this is a squatting position here, Niels. And once it really can get its balance right, it will start to perform wing exercises, because of course the wings are crucial in a bird, if not the most important thing, and therefore you'll start to see it moving its wings like this, and again standing upright on its own 2 feet. I'm just not convinced our chick is at that stage yet, and this is what I really, really want to see. So I think if I sit here for long enough, as I mentioned, that will happen. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get to see whether it is 12 days old, younger, or older. So I think maybe a stakeout here is going to be worth it. Of course, the owls roost during the day anyway. But I just wonder if when it gets a little bit cooler, Mum will leave and then the chick will be completely exposed and we'll get to see it. So I think that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to sit here and sit with our fingers crossed, hoping that the chick comes out. Angela, thank you. You're saying my drawings are great. They take me a very long time, consumes a large part of my day. But I just think because I don't physically have the book in my possession, I just think it's a really nice way by a wonderful man who actually had a chick and he was raising it. It's quite an old book, and it's just he drawed them in great detail each day, and I think it's really lovely because what we use normally is a bird app. And it's not always 100% accurate in great detail, whereas I think this is really, really detailed. I think it's necessary. So thank you, Angela. Now, it says the facial mask is beginning to gain definition. If we just look at Mum, they've got a very, very special sort of disc on her face, the arrangement of the feathers. And this is what they mean by the facial mask. And it should slowly, slowly start to appear on the chick. Now, obviously not in the way that they you can see on Mum, but it will slowly start to appear, making it look more and more like an adult as time goes on. So again, that's another thing that I really want to look for, see if that facial disc is making an appearance.
Good luck, Lauren, with the owl chick. Hopefully it happen that the chick will show up. Here we still sitting with this beautiful kalamba, as you can see. All you see is just a little bit of a movement of her throat when she take a breath. It's kind of like a little paint happening in there. And of course, I'm not sure when she would decide to head into that position of the kill. And sometimes I know it's going to be very much surprising, witnessing kind of a kill like that, since it happened this morning and nothing's been eaten. So most of the time it comes to a point where, especially leopards, they're very much solitary. They don't move in group, and they were able to store their food for such a long period of their time, where there's no such a competition going on. Of course, if it was a lion feeding on one of even a baby zebra or baby wildebeest, will be long gone by now, because everybody will try to feed and get the amount of food. Where here now it's not such a competition, unless if another leopard arrive into this area. Of course, that is going to be a little bit of a growl between one another, since they won't cooperate, even a father or a mother anymore. She's independent, Kalamba already. Zay, good afternoon. Welcome to your beautiful show. So you want to know why leopards are solitary? I think most of leopards who started from the panther in the point of view, for them to able to be solitary is that they're built that way anyway. Those are and the animal, they adapted to the situation of, for them being lonely is never change any situation on how difficult it is for them. So they still feel very comfortable. So they're actually far different to lion. Only that also they kind of cats. If you look at the lions from the pride, is that there's a big animal. For them to able to hunt is kind of very difficult. For leopards, difficult, but then anyway, they have a lot of chance since they are smaller and they prefer the woody area. And the thing for them to be a solitary, I would put that way, where they always find in a very thicket, find it a lot easier for them to able to hunt for their own. Where lions, you find them in the open, but they're way too big. Are cats. They won't do much of a action when it comes to the hunt as these leopards do. And that's where we see them hunting in the old pride. Even in a small open area. For these lions, you find they take so much time, they're trying to surround the game. But even though you find that sometimes they kill less, even in a group, because for them being so big animals, they come visible sometimes, depending on the vegetation, where they hunt that prey from. If it's too much shorter grasses, of course, advantage for them to be able to kill, it can be very poor. So we're going to take another moment looking at this cat. Eventually we're going to return back to that tree, see what is happening in that kill.
From the leopard to our giraffes, which we call them Giraffa camelopardalis. If you look at the prints there, they almost look like the leopard prints. Look at the pattern there. So pardalis, so the leopard is also called pardus, Panthera pardus. So Giraffa camelopardalis, they look like camels, but at the same time their prints are almost like leopard prints. So here our giraffes are slowly enjoying this marshy area. After the rains, you'll find that most animals or most game get to split up, especially because there's fresh sprouts that pop up after the rains. All these animals get to enjoy, and giraffes have that advantage because they have that long neck, so their browsing line is higher and even better than other animals. Most of the water comes from them browsing and eating on these leaves because they supply them with enough water. So most of the time you find that giraffes will not be drinking. So in the late afternoon you find that giraffes will always be resting. They pick the very early hours of the morning to mid-morning to eat, and late afternoon where the temperature is low and not as hot like right now. So at this point, maybe they're taking intervals to sleep. You find that at least every 4 minutes they'll be sleeping, but they always sleep standing. They don't lock their legs, or knees rather, like the horses, but they always be standing like this to take a rest. Because most of these animals are preyed upon by predators, so they don't fall asleep compared to predators like hyenas, lions, and even leopard. So they always worry of predators, and you find that they only take small time to rest. Devon, thank you for your question. Yes, sometimes you find giraffes eating on grass, but not always. I've seen once or twice, but they normally depend on browsing on leaves because they're browsers. But sometimes the fresh sprouts that pop up on the ground, they will always nibble on that. We have herons. They're all taking time to rest, sunning there. I think we've had enough of food this day, but some of them are actually fishing. There's a yellow-billed stork over there. Seems like a nice spot to wait and see what these animals will do as I take you over to another live location.
Good idea that to wait around there. Hopefully something showed up. So we decided to come to this position of this Columbus kill, right up in this tree here. Since we mentioned that, looks like nothing. She didn't actually touch much on this carcass since she managed to host it up in this tree. There's a baby impala you can see. But from this position, all you see is a head and the legs. we check from the other side as well. The visual is not great, but you can see they still haven't been eaten. Usually you would see a lot of blood or red meat show up. Hair would be disturbed. When they eat, they pluck the fur off before they get into skin and meat itself. What a life of going, it's always sad, especially for the sensitive viewers. You're out there, but I'm so sorry about this. And this is what happened in nature. Cats have to survive, but feed on somebody who feed on grasses, and then as a carnivorous species, then it's for them to able to hunt on these animals. So life cycle sometimes can be very difficult in the wild. It was a small impala anyway. And this time of year, this is where you see a lot of baby impala will be taken by a lot of predators because they weren't able to hunt as an adult do. And then when it's wild, put it up safely. I don't think it's going to, even the wind blow, I don't think that carcass is going to fall anyway. And she's just sitting there keeping an eye on it to see if it's an approach or a hyena or anyone else.
We can see about 1% of our Olivia. She's there. I think we might get lucky if we're patient enough today. And I was talking about the facial disc. And what that actually is, I think if we looked at Mom, we'll be able to look at her facial disc. Although owls have exceptional binocular vision, they actually don't really have better eyes than humans, because we both see in the same spectrum of light, but their eyes are sort of designed to construct brighter images for low light conditions. Humans are not specialized in low light conditions whatsoever. But as well as having great eyesight, they also have fantastic hearing. And that's why they're such sharp, acute hunters. So the facial disc, the ears are attached on each side of the facial disc. In each side of Mum's little disc, you see that dark line, lies an ear, believe it or not. And they can detect an extraordinary range of sounds. And that facial disc sort of acts like, they call it a parabola, to focus the sounds into the eardrums. So it's obviously just the feathers, it's the arrangement of feathers, but they're designed in such a way to channel all of these sounds into these eardrums that we obviously can't see right now. And that's exactly why they have facial discs. It's not so pronounced in a spotted eagle owl as it is, say, a barn owl, but it's still got the same function. So we're going to sit tight and continue to hope for movement.
It's always nice watching owls. I remember when I was growing up, I used to be told that owls are bad omen, and still in the African community we find that owls are regarded as bad omen, but they play an important role in our environment. Back here in the Mara, we are still with our black-headed herons and our giraffes. You can see these herons are still sunning, like the way the wind is blowing out on their feathers. Very, very nice. Despite being here at a waterhole, herons always sometimes encountered, or you see them out in the grasslands or in the plains, where they'll prey mostly on snakes, rodents, lizards, and small eggs or maybe birds. that will be nesting on the ground. Just before the rains, these small pools will be drying off, and because they have aquatic life there, we have frogs, we have tadpoles, and we have other fishes like the catfish. So when these water levels are low like this, we find that during the hot temperatures of the day, most fish or aquatic life will always want to be in a shaded place. And because it's too open, you find that these herons are specialized in a hunting technique which we call umbrella. So they'll walk into the middle of the ponds and spread their wings to form shade, and so the aquatic life will come for shade, and that's easy for them to hunt because they're very patient birds. Our giraffes are still ruminating, they're still facing that direction, and the reason being the wind is blowing on a different direction, so they always want to be out of the wind. Most animals especially. Didn't get that name quite well. So black herons are quite common. We have a big population of black-headed herons here. So they're evenly distributed here in Kenya and in the Mara and across Kenya. So this is not a rare bird to see. They're very common birds to see here. Just to add, they're common through sub-Saharan Africa, and Masai Mara falling in between the sub-Saharan Africa. I'm still going to sit here and watch these three species as I take you over to another live location.
Beautiful to see some bird activity at watering holes. It's often one of the best spots to just sit and wait for animals to come to you. As you can see, we've found some impala here at Anbionpinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Kim, and behind the camera we have Craig, and we will be with you this morning. Now, I don't know if you can see the general weather around us. It is pretty cold, and it's starting to rain a little bit, so we're going to try and stick out this weather. And my goal today is actually to try and find an impala lamb. I have been looking for these impala lambs, as we've discussed earlier this morning. You know, we had our first one born on the reserve. Well, the first one that was seen on the reserve was about the 2nd of November, and a lot of the guides have since seen them, and I'm feeling very left out. So I'm looking for impala herds with some impala lambs. It would be lovely for us to share, you know, the brand new lambs of the season. So that's what I'm going to be hoping to try and find this today. And also just looking for signs of anything else that we come across along the way. We're just hoping that the weather holds out and that we can stay with you guys as long as possible this afternoon. It is a nice break because it has been incredibly hot. So I will take a cold, rainy day any day over one of those intense heat waves like we had the other afternoon. You can see there's impala actually walking off to the right. What's been quite interesting, we've come across a few herds of animals where there's been a collection of them. Like just before we were able to join with you guys, we actually saw some kudu that were off to the right. Rachi, yes, impalas will feed on knobthorn trees. They are both browsers and grazers. So anything really that that is at the correct height for them, provided the knobthorn is not too high that they cannot reach the leaves. They will most certainly feed on it. We have very few knobthorn trees on Phinda. I think that's more a tree that you'll find more often in the Lowveld. So these impala that we're looking at most likely not have a lot of knobthorn trees in their diet for that exact reason. And right now, I think with the grass being quite lovely and luscious and green, it's most likely going to make up a large amount of their diet. But they will browse and graze as they continue. And they're not going to favor one or the other. So it's quite interesting is that you can see that there's a lot of tree cover around them. Now, we often find impala right out in the open areas. You know, they do rely very heavily on their sense of sight to spot predators. They're probably one of the better senses of all the antelope. Most of the time, when we've been following predators that are stalking animals, if you see one impala amongst a group of those antelope, most likely it's the impala that's going to spot the predator first and sound the alarm. So I think what they've done is the same reason they've been sort of congregating around other animals is that this wind and rainy weather is compromising their sense of hearing and sense of smell a little bit, and even their sense of sight, because there is a bit of a haze in the air. So I think that they are sticking to the more closed areas, block out a bit of the wind, makes them a little bit more sheltered, a little bit more comfortable, and makes them feel a little bit more safe. We are going to carry on looking for other herds of impala and hopefully find an impala lamb.
So welcome back to the Mara. We're still at our watering hole. You can see at least we have 4 species of birds. We have the African jacana, we have the yellow-billed stork, we have the black-headed heron, and we have the Egyptian goose, which is very, very nice to find different kind of species in such a nice place. That yellow-billed stork looks like a juvenile. So most adult birds will always have white feathers. You see, the difference now here is that you can see very, very like brownish color of the yellow-billed stork. So the yellow-billed stork has a different technique of hunting for aquatic life, and mostly they rely on the senses to actually get what they're holding on, because the touch is a sense that they always use to detect or capture prey rather than by vision. So most of these other species, they'll depend mostly on vision. The black-headed heron, they use vision to see what's in the water. So the yellow-billed stork will always submerge their bills in the water, and by scoping or walking around, anything that is touched by the bill, they just grab it. So they have a snapshot technique where anything that is touched by the bill is always grabbed. They feed patiently, walking through the water with their partially open bills, so that the contact of the bill with sometimes when they get prey, they will just rapidly snap the bill. What a nice place to find all these birds. Interesting place to be. So it's a nice place to be, and the reason being we have lots of birds here. So this tells you that this is a nice place. There's food, so there's no competition whatsoever between these two species, or 3, 4. That is very interesting. That's a new species, mark it on your list. I'm very delighted to show you that very nice bird. So the yellow-billed stork also resembles the American woodstock, which if you maybe check on the bird list of America, they look very much like the American woodstock. But the two species, the American woodstock and the African or the yellow-billed stock, the feeding technique is almost identical to each other. And the other thing about the yellow-billed stock is that when they're feeding or looking for food, they always have that foot stirring technique. And that sound when they stir their feet is that what they use to detect or get prey, which we call it the herding mechanism.
Olivia, we can see you. All of 2% of you, but we can see you. Not enough to determine the stage of development, though, sadly. Feathers is a key factor in sort of the developmental process, looking at what feathers are developing. Birds obviously have feathers, we all know that, but not all feathers are the same, and not all feathers have evolved for flight, believe it or not. So yes, you do have the flight feathers, but you also have feathers that are there for insulation and to keep the bird warm and to allow air to pass through. So they're not all the same, and the stages that they come through in a little chick is probably the best factor, actually, to determine development. Now you have contour feathers that actually help contour the entire anatomy of the bird, assist in lots of different factors, including flight. You have tail feathers that are normally very, very rigid and structured. A lot of birds have specialized adaptations, like woodpeckers. They have very, very unique tails that actually allow them to balance when they're sort of hanging on trees and, well, punching their beak into the bark. They need to be able to balance in order to do that. So you have those type of feathers as well. And then you have your primary feathers. They're also very rigid, very structured for flight. And if you look at an owl, in general, owls, they're actually sort of at the very, very edge of their wings, their feathers are frayed. It almost looks quite messy. There's gaps in between them. And this is one of the reasons, one of two reasons why owls are masters of silent flight. They are really, really silent in flight. You'll never hear them. And having frayed feathers at the sort of leading edge of the wing, that's one of the reasons. And it basically it splits up air. So the air is not hitting against a hard surface. It sort of splits up the air, which allows them to go through the feathers, and therefore it will make it more silent. The second reason an owl is a master of flight is basically they have really, really large wings, especially compared to their body size. And this gives them sort of what they call low wing loading. And it just means that they can fly without having to flap so much because their wings are so large. It gives them lots of momentum and they don't need to. We can see you. And they don't need to continuously flap, which of course will be far noisier. They can do a lot of gliding. Renee, you're saying peekaboo, Olivia. Yes, I know. Please come and see us. I want to leave and look for other animals, but I also want to stay in case we get the most magical views. I keep showing you the diagrams, but the diagrams are really no use if we can't see the chick itself. So I feel just a little bit more patience. We need to sit here. We're really not disturbing them in any way. Peekaboo. Fiona, you're asking when's something? Pooh. Defecation. Mum definitely doesn't defecate. around this area. She leaves, and I wonder if that's what she was busy doing that day that James got a gorgeous view. But as for the chick, I'm actually not sure how spotted eagle lovers do it. Bird poop is very liquidy. It's not like mammal poop, shall we say. But some birds are known to actually carry poop away from the chicks in their mouth. And I don't think owls do that, but I'm actually not sure what the spotted eagle owl chick does. That's a very good question. I am going to find the answer for you. They can't sit in their own sort of feces or their own liquid poo. No organism can. But I'm actually not sure. They've got to keep it clean for hygiene reasons. I'm guessing Mum cleans it up somehow, but I'm not entirely sure how. So we've sat here this long. I think we're going to give it just a little bit longer in hope that we get a view.
So welcome back to our same usual spot where we just continue watching these beautiful birds. You can see the black-headed heron, you can see the yellow-billed stork, but there's two yellow-billed stork there. Very, very nice position, so we can be able to tell between the adult and the juvenile. See, the juvenile is the one on the opposite direction, and the adult has all white. So in time before they become adult, they still have that plumage, and that's the reason why we call them juvenile, because they've not yet acquired the full color plumage. And as I was talking earlier, these two species have different type of feeding behavior. Sometimes the yellow-billed stork can actually scavenge. And when we talk about scavenging, it's not like the usual where they find a carcass and just scavenge on that. Because sometimes when they are roosting or sitting in such a common place like this, you find cormorants sometimes will regurgitate fish. And when that is regurgitated, this yellow-billed stork will end up eating that. They normally depend on the waters, but the black-headed heron sometimes will find them in the open grassland. But it seems like a nice place where there's plenty of food, plenty of fish, and other aquatic life where these two species will not have competition over. Very nice spot to come watch these birds. Our giraffes are still resting. Wow, that's the longest position I've seen them waiting. Very, very nice to see all this in harmony, in very peaceful position as they rest. I always love sighting like this, where you get to enjoy watching different species together.
So we haven't seen any leopards yet, or any of the other bigger predators, but there are some tracks of quite a few hyenas on the road. The tracks are coming from this side, straight towards where we are now. So it might be that these hyenas could have just used the road to get back to the den, or maybe there could be some wild dogs in the area. Often if there's a lot of hyena tracks, maybe there's a chance they are following the wild dogs. So what I think we'll do is spend some good quality time in this area and hopefully see if there's any other signs that could lead us to possibly wild dogs. So that's what I'm hoping for. There's no guarantee. The one track definitely looked like a wild dog track, but it could have been, just because of the soft sand, could be the back track of an hyena, because their back feet are is a bit smaller than their front feet, because most of the weight is more towards the front than towards the back. So I just want to carefully check up. There's some sandy areas here just to have another look at the tracks. But if there are any wild dogs around, how amazing would that be? So let's give it a good look. I just want to have another look at these tracks. Well, it's still hard to see because of the light as well. Because it's overcast weather, you can't really see the different shadows that well. And also there was a bit of a breeze blowing, so it covers the track. So let's just carry on. Hopefully we'll see some more signs. But it is a lovely day to be doing a drive. It's not too warm, it's not too cold. The wind's also not as strong as it was this morning. Often if it's very strong, you find that the animals will move into some cover to get out of the wind. But we'll go up on this road, and there's another one that goes past these open areas, and we'll go have a look.
I agree, Nikki. I think everyone is relishing this cooler climate. So unfortunately, my effort of being extremely patient has not entirely paid off, but what I thought was maybe we can go and say hello to the Talamatis, they're on the move, and then come back a little bit later. I really, we've all jumped on this journey together, and I really want to get just even a short glimpse of the chick and see what stage of development it's really at. I think it's going to be really important to our understanding, but unfortunately we're not getting very lucky here. Chris, you're asking, how does owl Olivia drink? She gets everything from Mother at the moment. Mother provides everything. And she doesn't leave, she doesn't move, she can't fly. I don't believe at this stage she can properly stand. Although, that's exactly what I want to see. So really, she's relying on Mum for everything. Food, hydration, all requirements that she has is coming from Mum at the moment, who is really doing such a good job of looking after this little chick. Very protective. And again, it says around 10 days, as I've already mentioned, Mum starts to leave to help the male with hunting. Because at the minute, the male's doing all the hunting and bringing it back to the nest, which most likely happens at nighttime. They're nocturnal. So during the day, I imagine he's somewhere nearby roosting. I've not spotted him yet, but I imagine he won't be too far. So normally after daytime she will leave to go and help him with hunting, but she'll remain near the nest during the day for defence. I have no idea, Sassy Cassie. I do not know. As I mentioned, they're nocturnal. So at the moment, like, the father is supplying everything, the male, and he brings it to them. So just like I mentioned, after 10 days, she goes and assists. They hunt by nighttime. They use their acute vision and their acute hearing to hunt in the darkness. And they're exceptional hunters, very fierce. So I imagine she's eating a lot, absolutely, to keep her energy levels up as well. But at this stage, I do not know. We've not witnessed it. But it would be such a lovely thing to witness. If we could just keep a little camera up here and see what really happens at the Wig House throughout the night. But yeah, she can't suffer. She can't go hungry. She can't let her energy levels drop. She can't go into deficit on that energy budget, so I imagine she is eating just fine. She's relying heavily on the male for that at this stage. Pandy, you're asking how big is an owl? Well, there's lots of different species of owls, so I'm going to guess you're referring to this species, which is a spotted eagle owl, and they normally weigh about 700 grams, full-sized. Males and females are very, very similar, and they normally come in at 700 grams, and they sit tall at 45 centimeters. I'm really sorry, I don't know what that is in inches. I think it's 15 inches, thereabouts, give or take. So they're quite a small owl. For example, the Tswalu eagle owl sits far taller, almost 70 centimetres, and weighs about 1.5 kilograms. It was definitely not the biggest owl, the spotted eagle owl. It's just so peaceful down here. When I see them sleeping, it almost makes me want to fall asleep. But I think that's what I will do. I think I will leave them for a little bit, go and say hello to the Talamatis and come back. Sheila, you're saying you can see the little pin feathers. Both Niels and I don't know exactly what that word was. One more time, Jared. Pin feathers. I've actually never heard of that before. Pin feathers. But yes, you can see the down, and normally the sort of other feathers, such as the different types of coverts. You get primary, you get secondary. Wing feathers is actually very, very complicated. But I've actually never heard of pin feathers before. You get the marginal coverts on the top of the wing, then you get the primary coverts, then underneath that you'll get the primary feathers, then you get the secondary feathers, and you get the secondary coverts. Now that's on the wing. Now on the body, you normally get sort of what we would call down feathers, but there's different types of down feathers for different purposes. Okay, so we are going to say goodbye to the Wig family right now, and then we'll come back a little bit later.
Well, good luck, Lauren, with your Olivia. I hope you can spot her. Well, I'm here at the marsh, and as usual, the inhabitants of this beautiful patch are always present. They never disappoint. I have two big elephants and buffalo at a distance, but let's start with the elephants. These look like two massive bulls. Recently, we've had an influx of big bulls coming around. I think females have been sending messages that they are coming into season, and that's why we have all these bulls coming by. Most of them are in estrus, are in must, and they're looking for female in estrus. Some of these bulls can travel all the way to Serengeti, some of them to Loiter, some of them northern Mara, and they can cover a distance of even up to 200 kilometers from here. It is the biggest animal we have around, always and constantly feeding, enjoying all the grazing that is available here. Plenty of soft grass, and this is a good place to get that. That is the view we have here. And we have a fire. Yes, we do have a fire over there. I cannot say exactly how it was started. It could be rangers, and so it's a controlled one. But all in all, the eyes of the management, I'm sure, are on it. And there's no need to panic. There's no need to ask me, a lot about it, but definitely I'm sure the management is handling it. They usually on such things in full force. Sometimes we do get some sneaky honey harvesters from above the escarpment. There is the Maasai and the Kalenjin. They live up the escarpment, and sometimes they will sneak in And while harvesting honey, sometimes the bees overwhelm them and they run and leave the fire there that they had brought to smoke the bees. Not only that, sometimes they get detected, and while the rangers are pursuing them, they leave the fire and it starts, but there is no cause to panic. All is in control. Yes, I know that. I'm very confident. The rangers around here are already back there. Looks very rainy. As you can see, there is clouds everywhere. There is an open gap of slightly grayish clouds. That's the only spot that is open. But the rest is just towering cumulus clouds. These are all rain clouds. You can listen to the thunder. Yes, there is heavy rain brewing. Okay, Smith. I hope I got your name right, Jumbo. How heavy do elephants get? A record weight was about 6.5 tons. 6.5 tons. That's almost around 13,000 pounds. That is very heavy. But I don't know if we still have that kind of gene that used to produce that heavy kind of bulls. Here I would say definitely about 5.5 we do get. That's how heavy they get. Females from around 3.5 to around 4.5 kilos. Yes, that's how heavy they get. And yeah, without them the land cannot be what it is. You might think they eat a lot, but they play a very vital role making sure that the plains are kept clean from very many trees growing and thick shrubs that are not edible, paving way for huge expanses of grass for those animals that graze, and we have very many. So without elephants, this kind of plains that we have here won't be there. The guy to the left, he is very, very big. Very, very big. I would give him a good 5 tons. He's got also some very beautiful tusks. Leopard lover. What age do they become bulls? Well, I mean, you want to know maybe when they become active. I would say, they really start associating in a bachelor bull or a bachelor boys club at the age of around 7 to 15. And they might stick with the bachelor herd from 15 to around 30, but after that you might see them wandering by themselves. You can see the size difference in those two. They are both males. The one to the right, I would give him mid-20s, but the guy to the left, maybe mid-40s. That is the size different. Yes, and he's got his 5th leg out, so definitely it's a male. And he's heading out on a stroll. He's not that big, but he's going to get very big. Sarita, sorry, could you repeat that question? Do females get more than... I didn't get that one. Please repeat. Oh, thank you for your question. Yes, males definitely weigh much more than females. I think the heaviest female recorded was around 4.5 tons. So they do weigh, males do weigh almost a ton above the females. And actually the females don't need to grow that big. Males do need, because to mate with a female you have to be the biggest and the strongest. In this elephant world, very much like wild dogs and hyenas, it's a matriarchal society where the female chooses, leads, and also chooses who to mate with. And the biggest, the strongest, and maybe the gorgeous looking gets to mate with the females. So they are much bigger. And also size does intimidate other... Oh, he's not happy with his mate. Size also does intimidate other bulls, so that it can actually diffuse any fights. And also, to fight, they need to be very big to intimidate the others. Looks like the rain is with us, so I think we're gonna close up quite quickly. It's coming in a rush. We're gonna leave you with that frame of the elephants. As you enjoy the elephants, we'll close down.
Sorry, Isaac, about that. So we left the lumber in a thicket with her kill still right up in that marula tree. We came into this position of the Talamati pride of lions. And it looks like they have moved from where they were this morning, slightly southeast, which I'm sure this is all about the weather situation, which still allows them to be able to do so. It's not cold, it's not hot, good condition for them. As you can see, some of them still up. Probably they're going to move while we're here, I'm sure. All of this is yawning. It's a sound of that, or sign of that they're going to move soon. And the male is within them as well. Look at this kind of touch communication. Just going to move on. Where buffalo, they were in Gurry Dam this morning, so, and nobody find them. Nobody know where they went from there. And this animal, when it comes to hunt, smell, hearing, sight works better. Rati, good afternoon. True, yeah, that's 100% true. Lions can scavenge from either from the same species or from leopard, from hyena, from wild dogs, and then from cheetah as well. So yeah, they scavenge like hyena does. So, but also they, of course, talk about hyena. For them to be able to scavenge, it's because they build for. And these cats that we're looking at right now, they build for their own skill. They depend on their own skill, hunt in the pride, and they're able to bring prey, good size of prey down. But seeing single line, or even this pride, if there isn't a carcass around here that's lying down or has been abandoned by other members, and there's still a lot of meat there, or still anything they can get to feed on it, they're possibly going to go onto it. finish it off. They're scavenging not only lions, not only hyena, wild dogs, they can do it as well. Leopard can do that as well. So beautiful of them, all just in these tall grasses in one of these mounds, well camouflaged. Smith, you want to know how far lions can reach in terms of a speeding? 80 kilometers an hour, but for short distance when they have to. So that's actually very much top speed, but I don't have to keep in that speed for such a long. This speed only attacking it when whatever they're chasing after, it's so close to them and they're about to get rid of it. But, just running normally, it's anything from 35, 40 kilometers an hour. This is just a normal running. But get away from danger immediately, or immediately getting rid of whatever they're chasing on, they can keep it on that speed. Look at these two. Looks like these are the ones that are going to show us where they're going to go, all of them. Now it looks like everyone's going to be on move, I think. Alexandria. So that it's true. Well, hyena, they're actually better hunter compared to lion, where they success rate of hunting hyena is right up to 75%. And well, you think of this pride or lions individual, you wouldn't think that hyena could actually beat the lions in terms of hunting, since we thought that only scavenge, they don't hunt. But it's only picked up that also they can hunt better, maybe, or closer to the lion. If lions were able to hunt 85% and hyena 75%, that's similarly, equally. But chances of hyena getting to kill something, they need a lot of chance. They hunt in such a packs, and of course they work as a team. When they cornered something, they're definitely going to kill it. And the way they kill it is different to lions or leopard. Mainly when they're all just going to surround in it for a prey species, and all just rip apart chunks. All of a sudden smells everywhere, they get split all over. Where lions, they tend to feed smoothly. And these are the animals also, they can look after their meal, which hyena, they don't really mind so much. When they get rid of the prey, they eat as much as they can, and they don't think about tomorrow. They don't spend much time in the area, unless if there's like maybe a big prey species like an elephant, and they'll spend a lot of time in there feeding, but moving out, moving in, all take turns. But where lions, they will spend time in it. So myself and Gerd, we're going to stay in this position here, follow these lines, see what they get up to.
You are all invited to a pool party. Chitwa Dam is busy. This is just fantastic. I haven't seen this in quite a while, and it's really not that hot today. Their skin is probably still sizzling from the past few days. And just an update, pin feathers. I've always called them blood feathers. I had absolutely no idea they were also called pin feathers, so I can't quite remember who made that comment. I'm sorry, I'm getting old, but thank you. I learned something new today. Pin feathers sound slightly nicer than blood feathers. Blood feathers, it doesn't sound pleasant. I'll update you all on what blood feathers are in just a moment. Let's watch this. Alexandria, I've never seen it, never witnessed it. The hippos can normally get very annoyed, especially in much smaller water bodies. Chitwa Dam is huge, but in smaller bodies like Treehouse Dam, they get very annoyed when elephants come and they start to yawn, which is, they're not actually yawning, they're not actually tired. They're just opening their mouth, and it's a very territorial display. Hey, this is my body of water, get out. But I've actually never seen a fight or a collision between the huge grey beasts. Hippos get very territorial over their water, no matter what the animal. They get annoyed with the geese, they get annoyed with the elephants. But just to quickly finish the blood feathers, pin feathers, is much nicer. So obviously birds molt feathers in order to grow new ones. And when it's a chick, they're not born with flight feathers because they can't fly. They don't need to be weighed down by rigid flight feathers because they're not going anywhere for quite a while. So it's a process. You grow feathers, molt, more feathers, molt. It's quite a long process. And when new feathers are just coming through the skin, and they're really tightly bound in a sort of thin shaft of tissue. Almost looks like a goose pimple at first, or a shivery pop, whatever you want to call it. And once the shaft splits open, the feather then sorts of unfurls, and then it comes out, it emerges, you can see it, and it grows to its full size. So when you see them, that's a blood feather or a pin feather. I think we're going to stick with pin feathers from now on. Stocking bed, no, I've never seen an elephant giving birth. A female, a cow, does give birth with the rest of the herd nearby, and normally they give her lots of space. They'll understand what's happening, they'll be able to sense it or smell it, taste the sort of pheromones that are being produced. They'll understand her body language, and they give her a little bit of space, but they're still nearby. And then normally once the calf is born and is on the ground, they'll slowly make their way towards it to greet the little one. But I've never seen it. On YouTube I have, but in real life I've never. This has been so lovely. You can just see the lodge in the background. We're going to try and stick with this herd of elephants as long as we can.
Good luck, Lauren. Beautiful of watching elephants, especially when they drink or swimming. Here we follow a pride of lions. Talamati, they came to this waterhole, and it looks like they're going to go south as well from here. And then when it does that, this is very much the dam that close to Juma boundary, and we between We're on a boundary of northern sector, which is Beversook right now. And since they were probably behind the herd of buffalo last night, since the buffalo came in this direction, entered Joma last night. And they were probably going to follow behind this herd of buffaloes. Oh, what a jump is that. So good. Looks like these water holes all the way around. But those can able to manage jumping out through that. They will do that. Some of them, they will have to walk all the way around. Those that don't want to jump. It's great weather for them. Usually when it's hot, this time they're still in the shade, which is still too hot for them. But today it's been so great. They actually started to get mobile quite early. These two, they're going to jump off. Sarita, you want to know why lioness is good at hunting. So, and most of the time, they're pushed by two facts that somehow they have to take care of their young one. Number two, they have a lot of energy than the males, and that's what makes them sometimes quite a lot of success on their hunting. They push too much on hunting, especially when they take care of their young one, and they got to make sure the young one get to eat solid food, which is meat. And for that, they need to keep on hunting. When they pride, they had the cubs. Sometimes they spend their time with them when they're not able to move with them around. This is when they're under 4 months old. The other member will go hunt. And then every time when they kill, they will one will lead back to the den, probably, lead the young one if they're in a good age of able to move to join to the kill, and they were able to join by age of 4.5 months, 4 months. From there, they started to feed on the solid meat as a young one. But they still rely on milk still. Looks like a male is going to arrive here. Male also can hunt in a coalition of males, and when they don't have a female to depend on them, they always hunt, but also a lot of scavenging as well. Just taking a drink. So you would just keep on following this bride, and I think he's been with them for quite some time. Wherever they go, and the other member, the other brothers too, other one, probably with maybe Uncle Homa pride, possibly, or even if they separate sometimes, each one walk on its own, and maintain the territory patrol. Territory patrol works for both of them. And look at this female young one playing with Dad. So every time when I hunt, you see here, male tend to sometimes freeze at the far back end. Michael, good afternoon. So you want to know when was last seen Talamati fight? Not sure if you mean fight with another male, or when a two pride meet in a boundary line. I actually all right, so now I understand the question there. So the Talamati, there are lines from the Kruger National Park a long time ago, and that's where they named Talamati from there. And then my first time to meet this bride was 6 years and a half, if I understand correct. At that time, they were coming in and out of Bebershoek and Manyalete and the Kruger Park in that eastern corner of end of the sub-ascent. And then for that, we've been seeing them pushing in too much because of their territory come expand. When now the Nkoma, they don't actually spend much time up in the north anymore. And they more likely to be seen up in the west, south of the reserve. And then we've been seeing this bride successful in terms of breeding. I understand that sometimes can be very difficult. They first dominated by the Birmingham males, and then which they moved to the south, northern Birmingham. So I'm gonna stay with this bride here. Probably gonna follow them, see what they're up to for us.
We have another one in the water, having the best time. Imagine having a huge body size of an elephant, no sweat glands, no real way to sort of release heat, only through the flapping of your ears. Jumping into, immersing yourself in a liquid medium like water must give a lot of relief to an elephant. They can really, elephants, other than flapping their ears, can really only release heat through evaporative cooling when they cover themselves in water or mud. And that's why they do it so much. I also think it's a whole lot of fun. I think they really do love it. This one, I think, is probably scratching his bottom on this sediment. And when you see them spraying... Oh, just pushed over a tree. That'll be that. So when you see them covering themselves in wet mud, not only does it feel good on the skin, it really is an effort to cool down. When you see them throwing themselves with dry mud or sand, that's normally an effort to protect their skin from UV rays. It's a form of sort of sun protection if you're an elephant. And it also gets rid of some relentless parasites. Elephants can get ticks. Not on all parts of their skin. Their skin is 4 centimeters thick, which is really difficult for a sort of tick to get into. But there's softer parts, like under their armpits, if you like, and their genitalia, and their ears. The skin is very soft there, and you will find elephants with ticks. We just had a naughty little boy come by the car. Sorry, just keeping a close eye on him. Regin, you're asking how old are they when they first start growing their tusks. They actually develop milk tusks first, just like humans have milk teeth or baby teeth, whatever you want to call them. And normally the real tusk, the adult tusk, will start appearing at around, give or take, 2 years old. tusks are elongated incisors, and a third of the tusk is hidden inside. It's embedded in the head. We only see 2/3 of it. Once it sort of protrudes outside that fold of skin, that's when we start to see the tusks. And it never stops growing. Never stops. Only when the maybe root is damaged, or they never grow in the first place. But these elongated incisors just keep growing and keep growing. Now we have got one over here. Actually, the whole herd went this way. It's amazing how quickly you can lose a herd of elephants. And one of the tusks will be the master tusk. So whether it's left-handed or right-handed, one will be the master tusk. And the master tusk is always apparent to us. We can identify because it's normally the one that's worn down the most. It's the shorter tusk because it's been used the most. Fire or braid? You're asking, will males mate when not in must? No, I don't believe they do. They may be a little bit naughty, and when they're younger, you will see males sort of playing with one another, and they may have a little sniff of the ladies. But really, must is a period of time, that temporary madness, where their hormones are ready. Testosterone pumping through their bodies. And it comes from Urdu, the language, Persian Urdu, the word must, spelled M-U-S-T-H, and it basically means, it comes from mast. Their word is mast, but it's obviously evolved into the English language as must, and it basically came from intoxicated. This temporary madness that the males display makes them look like they're intoxicated, they're going crazy, they're not behaving the way they normally should. It's very similar to rutting in impala that season. The males also go slightly crazy. It's temporary though, and it's all to do with the hormonal changes in the body. And of course, male elephant's genitalia is very unique as the testicles are inside. You can use the word testconda for that. They're not external. They sit quite high up. If you ever look at a diagram of a sort of the anatomy of an elephant, they sit quite high up on the elephant's back. And it was Aristotle that first recognized this, believe it or not, in elephants, that their sort of abdominal position of the testes, that's where they were located. So I think we're losing this herd now. They're wandering off into the thicket. But I can see more ellies at the other side of the dam swimming. So what we're going to do is drive around and watch them play.
Good luck, Lauren. We're still keeping up with this pride of lions. Now they slightly close to the boundary, haven't crossed yet. But we saw where the whole herd of buffalo have crossed. Looks like they're behind a trail, buffalo trail. And they're going to keep on pushing south, I think. This is their mission right now. And where the cloud is taking places, and ever there's a little wind blowing, allows them to be able to push too much in that, because they have their own skills of able to downwind the prey. So the prey mustn't smell them. That's the idea when they do that. It's always privileged to have pride of lions in the area, but it's got to have Anna Santina, good afternoon. Welcome to your beautiful shore. So you want to know how many kills they have for a week in order for them to be able to survive. So survival rate in terms of hunting depend on the pride. So, they don't actually always kill, but if they're successful, they could make like 3-4 kills sometimes a week, or even more than that, or could be less, depending on the rate of the species in the area where they are. But it works better whenever you have prides of lion, and it's got to be a lot of prey species available for them to be able to hunt. Where here we have a sort of difference. Antelopes, we have kudus, we have impalas, zebras, wildebeest, buffaloes. These are the pretty much size of this animal to be able to prey on them. So yeah, roughly anything from 4 to 5. But in lion pride skills, it comes from their genetic. So they learned from their parents since younger. They grow up with it, and they keep up with their new generation that was born, able to teach them the same way of hunting. Remind me of an older pride we used to have. It was a Squitana pride. Squitana, I don't know if anyone knows, it's a long time pride. And then this was, I think, pride of 1999, back in the years where they used to capable of killing buffalo. They kill, it was like 4 lioness in the pride. And then the other day we witnessed like 3 different kill the same species was a buffalo. And then then it was nothing so easy for them to be able to do that, but with this technique skill they got. And then when we arrived into that, we always see the vulture all hanging from the far side, some of them going down, but we didn't know why they do that. Immediately we went there, we saw another buffalo's down, and then we see all the evidence where they were trying to bring it down. So the second one and the third one. It's never easy for them to hunt buffalo, but since there's a lot of other small species, it makes them success rate for them killing rise. Look at this too. It's so beautiful animal. It's actually a young male on the other side. Lee, you want to know why all the males lose their mane? I think I understand that question. That I'm not sure why. And then all I've seen, males develop their mane, and then every time they lose their mane, this is when maybe there is mange, which is the disease, which that could sometimes affect not only males, but all animals, individual. And when that disease takes place, it's actually an itchiness, where all of a sudden that animal, it's without any single hair in a coat. And that could be the reason. But they don't actually pluck it off itself. Could be during a fight, but that also won't take all manes out of that animal. There's a young male still there. Yawn. So I'm going to keep following this pride here, but I'm going to find out who else interested in terms of a lineup. If no one coming in, we're going to keep on following them.
Our boys, I think there's 2 boys here, they're up to no good. started making trouble in the neighborhood. They're just loving to swim here. They've actually walked the entire length of the dam, close to the shore though, in the water. Now going back to must, because it's very, very interesting. Normally male elephants will get ousted from the herd by the females once those changes start to take place. I don't quite know how the females detect it. I don't know if it's behaviourally, is it chemically, is it definitely won't be visually. And I don't know what cue it is that makes the females start to oust them. Is it size? Is it just their boisterous behaviour? Or can they sense the increase in testosterone? So they're normally ousted at around 15 years, give or take, 12 to 15 teenage years. And they just become too big and too boisterous. And the mothers just decide, you're in danger of harming the little ones, go. And normally the first bout of must in a male comes in at around 18 years. But it's really short bouts. And just like a sort of pseudo-estrus, it's not necessarily a pseudo-must, but it's not a full adult strong must, if you like. And it's normally around 25 years that they come into their first proper must. And, well, they're ready to go, shall we say? Rearing to go. And they normally come into must at a specific time each year, but it varies between bulls. So sort of sperm production is independent of season, shall we say. It depends on the bull. They won't all come into must at one time like impalas do when it's the rutting season. It's staggered between bulls. And it can last anywhere between 6 to 12 weeks. My goodness. That's a really long time. I'm glad it's not that way for female humans. And therefore, yes, it's a long duration, and that allows the male to mate with as many females as he can. So we're going to try and sit here a little bit longer and follow these bulls.
Oh wow, guys, look at that. We were just looking for lions, but we found one of the rare cats that we do find here, African wild cat. And you can see just relying on camouflage there, just behind the bushes, looking for little rodents and lizards. That's what he would go for. Very sharp with his eyes and ears there. Hoping we're not seeing him. It would be the size of a house cat, but these are wild. And they haven't been given any other name. They just called African wild cats. Let's just see what he does there. Oh, very shy. Very agile also, and quick. Very good find. We don't actually see them very often. Very rare sight. One of Kalahari's specialties also. Good eyes, Dave. And we've lost him. Yeah, still on the loose there. And they would avoid big cats, so this is particularly the time that they would be looking for prey, just to get away from other bigger cats that would be around, things like your cheetahs and so on. Devi, are these African wildcats' ears bigger than your ordinary house cat? Slightly so. I mean, they would be adapted for using those to hunt and listen to little rodents as they shiver and quiver around the grasses. So yes, the hearing and the ears themselves would be slightly bigger, but not significantly so, but they would be a little bit bigger. Even the posture of the cat itself, it would be more robust, more built than your ordinary house cat. So yeah, very good spot there. We're going to continue trying finding our lines. The spoor is getting fresher and fresher. Obviously, they've done circles from last night and early this morning. So we're going to continue on that.
Good luck, Obi. Here we're still the same, our pride of line, highly mobile. Now they're in Juma, which they just crossed the road over here. And then we're going to keep following them. We've seen this young male in his pride. So playful, always keep up with the whole pride, which is, it's something very important. There's a male, I think, on the far end. He's just following from the far distances, as you can see through this wood. So now we're looking at the fathers of all that young male we've seen in his pride. And that now makes me go back to the lead. That was the question, would be why would the male lions lose their mane? And then that we were looking at there was a young male. The mane actually hasn't been developed yet, like these father of them. So they didn't actually lose their mane, so that they're still too young for them to be able to reach or develop their mane like that. If you look at this male as a father, under his chin, old duck mane, or he's called the duck mane, Avoca duck mane. So he's going to slowly follow from the far end, keep up with them. If they ever kill anything, he's going to respond to it. If it's impala, he's going to take it all by himself, not to let the other one to feed on it. So I'm going to be following behind them all the time. There's 2 vehicles here. We're going to try keep this sighting going so we don't lose them. I'm just going to drive. It's so important, there's not sure where the buffalo is. But not only the buffaloes, is anything they come across in front of them, they were trying to cooperate, got into it, hunt down until they killed it. The advantage of thick, grasses and then very greenery as well. So they would use advantage of maybe trying to stalk using these bushes when they have to, if there's anything they see around here. But the direction now looks like they're going to end up at Gari Dam. This is the direction we're at right now. And this is where the whole buffalo herd was seen this morning drinking. Then from there, I'm not sure where they have went, or whether it's slightly north, which is got to be in this block where we're in. Would be very, very much interesting to see them approach the herd of buffalo. But if they do, they have to take their own time in it, making sure that they are all positioning themselves. All they do, they're going to aim for the weakest or youngest members in the herd. Because not always easy for this lion to kill buffalo right away, especially these older bulls and older females. All turn around as a group, herd, go back to help whoever is stuck in the middle of the lines. But they have their own technique. They've been doing this over the years, so they know exactly every time they approach buffalo what technique they should use. So each prey species, they have to hunt. There's a way of how they hunt that animal. If it's impala, of course, they can just run into them if there's a chance. Since they're all surround, each one will get maybe with at least one. Finally, the whole pride over here come out with the 3 different kill, which will sustain the whole pride. So let's keep following them, see what they're up to.
So how exciting is this? So remember earlier on we said there were tracks of a leopard that was going across towards the River Narone. As they were doing a tracking session, they found this male leopard. So this looks like the young male that we refer to as the Makoti male, which is so special to see. And you can also see, like, we had a bit of a chat earlier on about how dense this area is we decided to move to. So we're hoping that we're able to get some glimpses, especially if he moves into a bit more of an open clearing. But notice that very prominent white at the end of the tail, and I wonder what he's probably smelling at the moment. Maybe there's something that moved past the area. Maybe there was, I don't know, maybe a female leopard. No, it is hard to follow him, but hopefully if he moves to some area that's a little bit more open, we might be able to just get a better glimpse. Don't know, they are mainly nocturnal, but sometimes in the late afternoon or even early in the morning, that's when they move. You might even find them in the heat of the day if they move from maybe a spot where there's a nice tree to go and lie down in the shade with a bit of a breeze blowing over them. But anywhere from the late afternoon to early morning. But we've also seen leopard moving in the heat of the day. So, I mean, they could move at any time, but they do prefer mainly at night. Or more the cooler parts of the day. So last night we saw a male that had beautiful blue eyes. Have you noticed the color of his eyes? More of a yellowish color. It's incredible how, like, after the rain we had, how much it's greened up. A few months ago, like 2 months ago, all the plants we're looking at now and the grass was more of a dull grey khaki color, but look at how it's greened up now. I wonder what he's smelling. There's definitely something here that's grabbed his attention. What we might try to do is we'll try and see if we can get another glimpse, because where he's moving to is quite dense. So I'm just hoping that we don't lose him. Because look at that area he's moving into now. It's not a very easy place to try and follow him. But what we can do is, once we can't see him anymore, we're going to try and see if we can get another glimpse of him.
Beautiful to be able to see a leopard right out in the bush, and very typical to get such a quick view of them. But well done, Nikki, for finding that leopard. When last you were with us, we were on the search for a young impala lamb, and if you can believe it, I'm still unsuccessful. I still have not seen one. It seems that all the animals are hiding from us today. But what I have come to show you is one of my favorite parts of our reserve. Right in front of us, we've got some whole herd of zebra that are just slowly feeding. If you can look at the terrain, you can actually see it's got like quite low, short grass, very green, and then it's in quite a low-lying area. So this is what we call our floodplain, and this is connected to the Mzinen River, which runs along the southern boundary of Phinda. And when we get heavy rains, like we're hoping for now coming into our rainy season, this entire area will flood, and it will rush into the river on my left. And that's why you can see it's incredibly fertile, incredibly green area, and it attracts a whole lot of our plains game. I mean, we can see zebra all over in the distance. We can see some wildebeest. We also saw lovely bird life. We saw some Senegal lapwings that you can actually hear calling occasionally in the distance. And we've got a little blackberry busted off to our right. There's the Senegal lapwing. So really stunning area for these animals to come and feed. In fact, it reminds me a lot of the Masai Mara. Just this openness of the plains. Amazing the contrast between our mountainy areas and our thick bush areas, just like what you saw in Ngala now. And now this incredibly beautiful open plain. I'm just going to keep quiet for a while and appreciate the sounds of the bush, because there's a lot of bird calls happening around us. Sometimes nice to just sit and stay quiet for a while and just appreciate the sounds of nature. So we are going to continue looking for a little impala lamb this afternoon, and we're going to send you off to another live location.
So we managed to get another view of this leopard. So he's basically decided to go in this dense area and just lie down. At least there's a nice window that we can look through to in order to see him. But you can see he does look still quite tired. Now, the area where he was last seen is not too far from here, maybe like a kilometer away where he was seen this morning. And then, of course, the tracks, we were following the tracks a little bit and probably might have missed it somewhere where he was lying down under a bush, and later on came out and lied in the riverbed, and that's where Rowan found him. So pretty special. You'll notice, comparison to the leopard that we saw yesterday, he's a lot lighter in color, especially around his neck, his chest, and the side. Now, it would almost be impossible if this leopard lied down and you had to drive past here in order to spot him, unless you knew exactly where he was. You can see the flies are bothering him, and he's just flicking his ears to try and get rid of those flies. Govos, with animals in particular, I'm sure they'll be able to pick up on body behavior. I mean, if an animal shows, even if we can, let's even use an example. I mean, let's say if a leopard tried to go for a young, inexperienced wildebeest, the chances are that the wildebeest might run away. However, if that wildebeest is mature and let's say it is a very dominant bull and it's a young, inexperienced leopard, then maybe because of that confidence and stance, that other animal can actually sense by that body language that it won't be able to take it down. And also, that wildebeest will then see, okay, but this leopard is afraid. It might even chase it. I've seen it with zebra and cheetah before, where sometimes if there's two males, they might even chase almost a fully grown zebra. But then once a cheetah shows that it lacks confidence, you might even find that the zebra will chase a cheetah. Even warthogs I've seen chasing cheetah before, because whenever they got close, the cheetah started moving away. So the warthog felt like, okay, if I look at your body language, you're actually more scared than me than I am of you, and therefore they ran off. So I'm sure they're able to do that. Yeah, he's just grooming himself. It's just incredible just to sit and watch him.
We're in the Mulwati trying to get to the Tlalamba sighting, but we've been intercepted. A large feeding herd. There's a huge female leading the way. She's walked off. But despite sort of what people think, it's not as easy to identify the matriarch as one would first think. She's always the oldest one in the herd. Doesn't necessarily mean she'll be the biggest. Commonly it is the biggest female, but not always. In order to be completely sure, you actually have to observe an elephant herd for quite some time. They're everywhere. What are you doing? They're all coming really close to the car right now, so I'm just going to watch them all. We didn't intercept their trajectory at all. This one's right at the front of the car now, so walking on by, don't worry. I just think the grass is particularly palatable here. Hello. Hello to you too. Something about the underside of this one's tummy looks very wrong to me. I don't think that's normal. Young ones are just crawling on the ground. I see you. Yes, you're very handsome. They just all came from this side, so we stopped to watch them go. I'm not sure if you saw that bulbous, sort of heavy-looking sack from underneath the youngster there. I'm wondering if it was a cyst or... I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think it looked normal. So sorry, I got asked a question there, but I really wanted to focus on the elephants. It's really important when you're in an elephant sighting. So, FC, you are welcome to ask it again, because I have a memory like a sieve. Stuck in bed, yes. Elephants are not the biggest fans of wind. It's not really windy today. I mean, there's a light breeze, but on those very, very windy days that we get, which are not pleasant, elephants don't like the wind because, all herbivores actually don't. It affects their hearing. They rely heavily on their hearing. They're not really so much visual animals or visual beings like we are, and the wind really disturbs the sense of hearing. They can't really tell where the sound is coming from. So they have huge cartilage ears, which channels in the direction of the sound, similar to the owl, the facial discs, channel it in the sound, so they're able to pinpoint the exact direction, something that humans are not so good at. We can tell roughly where the sound is coming from, but animals can tell exactly where, and wind completely disturbs that, and that's why elephants don't like it. They become quite nervy. Now, I think that's them all. So we are going to continue our journey through the Mulwati and hopefully make it to Miss Kalamba on time. You can just see this one walking up the hill. Okay. So through the Mulwati we go to our princess.
So while we've been with some herbivores that are nervous of predators, we found some of our smaller predators that we have here on and beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. You can see we found some side-striped jackal that are huddled now, trying to keep themselves as warm as possible. You can actually see that one has just got its eyes closed. Here's almost standing on end, and it seems to have tucked itself in as close as possible, trying to keep that warmth in during this nice cool afternoon. You can hear that Senegal lapwing calling just off to the left, and in fact it's actually standing on a little termite mound and facing directly towards the side-striped jackal, and it's busy calling almost as an alarm call, trying to tell them, don't even try, because I know exactly what you're doing. I know that you're there. I'm very aware of you, and it's also alerting any other birds, any of the other lapwings in that area. And you know, the birds are one of the food sources of the side-striped jackal. They've got quite a varied diet. It can be anything from insects to fruit and little berries, to birds and small mammals. So it is quite varied. And this terrain that we're in, the floodplain, is quite typical of these jackal. You know, it's a big open area. They can have very large territories, but what we've experienced is generally the territories aren't massive, or not at least where we find them. You know, they might be a lot bigger than we think, but we do tend to find them in the same spots in these smaller plains that we've got here. And what we've got now, the dynamic, is one large one off to the right and then its pup in the middle, which is quite typical. You know, they can be a monogamous pair and then with their pups in one sort of territory. They seem very cozy, and we're going to leave them to have a rest, and we're going to go in search of something else this afternoon.
So have a look at how close this hyena is to this leopard, and the leopard didn't even react. So he probably thinks that this leopard made a kill somewhere. This is crazy. So close, and that a leopard didn't even react. It's like moving on. Just look at the leopard just staring at this hyena. Didn't even get up. That was incredible. It's the first time I've seen, especially a young male. I mean, like with him, he's not even 3 years old. And he wasn't intimidated by that hyena being so close. He just lowered his head. He might have growled and I didn't hear it. But he snarled at the hyena, and eventually the hyena just turned around and started moving away. So Polly, with this particular male leopard, his mother used to be a female in the area known as Black Dam. Now apparently, like I wasn't here when she passed away. I have seen her before during my time guiding here at and beyond in Ngala. However, this female used to be in an area where, or a drainage line known as the Black Dam drainage line, and that's basically where she was the whole time. And this was one of her cubs. Now there were two, him and his brother. But when they were 8 months old, the mom passed away. We think she might have been caught by lions. And then this male, we thought maybe at 8 months that we didn't know if they will be able to survive. Maybe another male leopard will push them out of the area, maybe even kill them. But then he started hunting vultures. Hence the name Makoti, or the description for him, Makoti, which is vultures in the local language Shangaan. Because he started hunting them, and of course any other thing, like any small bird in a nest, if he found a small tortoise, if he found dwarf mongoose, anything he could find, even though they were so small, he would take it. And eventually, if you look at him now, this is almost 2 or close to 2 years later, and he's been able to survive all this time. And his father is the one that we often refer to as the Tabuati Tom, which we also haven't been seeing for quite a while now. So I don't know if he might have been pushed out of the area, or maybe if he's moved to a new area. I'm not too sure. Or even if there was a possibility that he could have been killed by lions or even another male leopard. But his tracks haven't been around, but we have seen this Makoti male more and more often in this area where his dad normally used to be. And it's also the stage where he, as a male leopard, will be pushed out of the area. But he blends in very well, and especially in this area where it's so nice and dense.
just what we've been looking for all afternoon. I like it when a plan comes together. These lions have definitely moved a bit of a distance from where we started seeing the tracks earlier today. It looks like all of them are here, and this is the Southern Pride. You'll see as Dave takes us through all of them. That's the young male, one of the two boys that are the young males within the pride, the mane starting to develop there. There's been a bit of a interaction. They've been coming to water and so on. So, and if you look towards the right there, underneath the camel thorns, there is one big male, two cubs, and a female with her head up, strategically placed just on the game path. Look at that. Hoping for anything to be coming to these mud wallows around here. So they've scattered around the mud wallow, almost doing a 360 around the mud wallow. And obviously the youngsters not being so well equipped with hunting, they'll be used as decoy. But let's see how everything unfolds here. A big male out. Shut eyes. Taking a snooze there. That's a true Kalahari mane lion. Rashi, how do lions mark their territories? Now, if you look at the behavior of lions, they would walk about and they would spray. And when they do spray, they would spray on vegetation, whether a tree, whether shrub, and they would also kick back where they are spraying. And by so doing, it's actually leaving a scratch mark or a scuff mark where they have actually done that. And that's one sign of saying, this belongs to me, this is what I can do. The feces also would be another method of marking and leaving evidence of occupying a territory. Vocalization, which means roaring or so, would also be another way of actually advertising their presence and saying that's theirs. So you'd find vocalization is a temporary way of marking, because it fades with time. After they've finished vocalizing, it's all gone. But things like smell and feces and so on, those last longer. So those would be longer methods of marking territory. So it helps in such senses that they have short ways of advertising their presence and saying this is where we are and this is what we are about, and having those long-term methods like spraying of urine on the bushes and so on. And you'll also sometimes see them rubbing their mane or rubbing their body also after they've sprayed like that. And it's also unifying their own body smell to what they have left on that a tree, to say this is particularly towards me and or the collision or the pride. So that's how they would mark their territory. Very good question. We'll stick around with these pride and see what happens.
We have Miss Kalamba. Really not in the best positions, and it's the best view we're going to get. But we're just going to stay here quickly to say hello, because we're going to race to another sighting in Buffelshoek, and hopefully it pans out the way I want it to. She looks full. It was a rather sad sighting James had this morning. One of my first live drives 2 and a bit years ago with Safari Live was Hosanna and a lamb. Oh, it's not easy. But talking about territories and scent marking, really any social dominance for any organism, actually. I was going to just stick to mammals there, but any animal is really selfish behaviour. Oh, my goodness me, that was loud. Sorry. And basically, it's very selfish behaviour which is designed to ensure priority to you or your pride or your pack or your clan to resources, any potentially contested resources. So although it's hard work and it's necessary for many species, it's classified as being selfish. You are being territorial. You are claiming things as yours. And even bird song, when you wake up and you hear the sound of the birds, most of them are saying, hey guys, I'm still here, I made it through the night, and this is still my territory, back off. Even if it's just a tree, it's still mine. It sounds beautiful to our ears, but it's also signaling territory. And it's costly, whether you're patrolling or whether you are calling, whether you're marking the boundaries or singing a song. It takes a lot of energy and time, actually. You've got to devote to that behaviour. If you let it slip, you let it slide, then you can lose your territory. Any male stops calling or stops scent marking, you can lose it. An intruder can come in and take right over. Just like what happened here with Tingana and Hukamuri and Mulwati. Now, I am going to move everyone because there's a fantastic sighting that I really hope to get to, and it's going to take some time. So, goodbye, Tlalamba. Hopefully we shall see you tomorrow.
Great. Good luck, Lauren. And here we're able to follow this bridle line, and we still got them. Still no sign of a herd of buffaloes yet, but they're still pushing so much south. Only now that they just went to lie down. This is because lions are also capable of moving, sometimes lay down for a couple of minutes, take a rest. Stumpy tail, this young one's got a little tail cut off. Not sure what happened, maybe get hold of hyena when they're younger. But she will survive, so as you can see how healthy she is. So again, looks like they're mobile. South, they haven't changed direction. So we've got the other station checking the cut line, on the southern side of us, which will be east of Karik Dam there, if it's a chance that the buffalo is still around. If this buffalo had moved far from here, they would really have to follow behind them until they got them wherever they've gone to. With the territory sensing marking, all of these politics taking places. Our champion, yes, lions do groom, what is called elo grooming, especially when they group together around all they do, they just groom each other. There's some part of their body where they can't reach on their own, even they have very long or very rough tongue they got, but the position of the neck behind their ears and the old tick stuck in those, all they do, they have to help each other in a pride. It's so important that they do that early grooming because, and then they were able to, this is where from young are able to get used to one another. And the mother will able to get used to their own smell for their own cubs. Where here the whole pride, it's so important that, you know, they take care of one another, which means that they cross drinker, which is one female, she's got a cubs, and then the other one, she also had a cubs. It happens that when the other mother's not around, she was able to allow her sister's cubs to come and drink, and not a problem. But you only also sometimes see that with elephants, not with a hyena, not with a leopard. Or a leopard, they don't actually be in a group, are solitary. Scent marking situation, it's all about marking their own places where they gotta be, where they have chosen area to be. And this female, they'll support the male in this. The male that we saw him follow from the end, they're doing the same, they support him, because he's the father of these young males that we see here, some of the young females in this pride. And when they do urinate, chemical scent marking, it works for both members here. But it's so important for the male, he does that for his own benefit. Keep this pride safe in this area for whoever other males arrive into this property. They will be able to find out immediately that this area has been taken. He's just gonna walk right in front of us, this male. Look at him. Dark man is beautiful. Look at these men right on his chin. He's probably trying to decode. So you would, and I think we saw a young female there urinating. So he's gonna, smell in that. Know that he won't do anything, but it's so important for him to be able to know the status on his whole group. It's pulling that face. It's called phlegm premise. It does that suck these air into what is called Jacob and organ sense, that we're able to decode the pheromone. And then that animal will be able to tell any status that takes place in that female or where that male, wherever that animal has been, but it's got to be the same species of animal that urinate in that area. It's a little bit limpy, I think, but not bad. Not sure what happened. We come across difficult situations sometimes. Where they fight, chase one another. This is when
So have a look, he hasn't moved at all. He is so comfortable at the moment. He's just found a nice patch there, and the way that he's resting his chin on his left arm. It's pretty special just to be able to sit here and just enjoy this. Now I'd love you to listen to some of the background noises. There's not much happening. You can just hear some of the birds or starlings. You might just hear the wind blowing through some of the leaves. I just want you to experience this. So let's sit for the next let's say just the next minute and listen and enjoy. Just incredible. Now, I don't know if you'd notice how he's just constantly moving his ears, so it does look like there's quite a bit of flies around at the moment, and it's irritating him. And now by just moving his ears or flicking his shoulders, just trying to get rid of all those flies around him. And it might be that he's only going to lie down like this because he's been resting up in a particular area, mainly a considerable part of the day. So there's a good chance that as soon as it starts cooling down now, he might just decide to move again. But you can see the way that he's lying down now, he's in no rush to head anywhere pretty soon. But I'm just going to sit here, myself and Owen, and just enjoy this for a little while longer. Calm's not great. But calm. Right, so beautiful. So we got them again, since we actually behind this cat, and then we keep distance as much as we can just to make sure we don't interrupt them on their own hunt. But you can see how they're always aiming to move on every time they lie down. They don't actually lie flat, all of them. Some of them they raise their heads up. And again, trekking with cats, especially lions. One, she's actually mobile again, so I think all of them will do the same. It's very important trekking. Once you find the tracks, from there you're able to tell first things. You need to find out about these tracks, how fresh they are, and if they older, maybe last night or so, they're last night. You can try follow them if nobody find them or seen the same tracks around. And you may take time, follow these tracks, finally find them. But all the tracks can sometimes, doesn't mean that animal have gone far away from that area. Could be mean that animal have walked long hours, but then it just walk not far away and lie down. So it's always very important to find out, trek slowly off-road, make sure if that cat is off that area. I think this is how they find them. It's so great that we keep up with this pride, just not to lose them, see what they're up to.
Our lions here at Tswalu Kalahari, the Southern Pride, still napping away. But look at the dark mane right there on this male. And hence, these males are called the Kalahari maned lion. It's because of that big, dark mane that they've got, and it goes so dark because of the amount of testosterone that these boys have to produce. The scent that they travel in is heavy. Look at the size of the legs and the paws, just to try and make them stay afloat on the scent. And that's also what entices them to produce as much testosterone. And also the distances they cover through these harsh conditions, they have to be equipped for that. So they are slightly bigger than your average lion in perspective, and that's where the term the Kalahari lion comes from. Look at that. beautiful beast. Peaceful as if they're not killing machines.
William's asking when the young males will be kicked off.
William, when will the young males get kicked off? So if you look at their age right now, they are about 2.5, which is about the age where it should start coming up. And usually what triggers that would be how they behave themselves. So they have to start actually learning how to do things like roaring and so on. And obviously with them trying to do that, it would intimidate, or it would be a sign of saying, we're old enough, we're men now. And the bigger boys would start taking that and taking note of that, and that's where they'll start pushing them out. You can already start seeing that with this pride in particular, the two young boys are already distancing themselves, getting the message every now and then, also from the females, when they play with cubs, also that they can be a little bit rough or too strong on the cubs. So you'll sometimes see the females just giving them a baring of the teeth. They'll just look at them and just show teeth, or make a small little growl just to say stay away. And it's a tough one for them, because then at this age they don't really know how to hunt, and they don't really know how to fend for themselves. So they would be pushed out anytime from, I would say, what they are now, and then they would start having to really now learn how to roar without putting too much attention on themselves, and also having to learn the skill of fighting when it comes to the day that they will have to challenge the bigger boys or their fathers in that particular sense. So yeah, it's going to be a tough 3 months to come to see what happens to these boys. But a very good, interesting question there about when the males do get kicked out in the pride. And there would be nomads for some time. I mean, you're looking at lions getting into their prime at about 4 years or so. And from this age, that is about 2.5, it gives them a bit of time to learn those kind of skills, like learning how to hunt and learning how to roar and learning how to fight and so on. But it can demand a lot, that in that time, if they don't learn that, they would be relying on things like scavenging from other predators. So it becomes a very interesting time in their lives, that 2 years or 1.5 years before they can actually start challenging for territory. But that's what they'll have to face. I mean, look at that big boy there. That's what they would have to face one day. I mean, it's also, I mean, if you look at why males form collisions, it's for the same kind of response, that there's at least more than one of them having to fend off and look out for each other. So that's why also it's very important that they stand together as a collision. But while these guys are still sleeping, we'll send you over to another location in Africa.
Now, we've tried to stick with this male for a little while longer, just to see if he might move. And to our luck, he hasn't yet. He's decided just to like position himself more on the side and like put his head down right on the ground. But what's quite nice is to be able to see the pad of that leopard. How incredible is that? I mean, if you look at the actual pad, you can see there's looks like a grey-black shiny bit, and that's one of the toes, and in between that is all the hair. Now what I want to do, I just want to see if I can get a picture of a leopard's track, just so to show you out how it looks like in comparison to that of a lion. And if you had to see these in the bush, how would you know or tell the difference amongst them? I'm just going to grab my pen over here, and I'm just going to hold the book right there so we can all see it. Now, if you look at this track right over here of a lion, and even of a leopard, you'll notice there's a very distinguishing feature. It's the 3 lobes at the back, the 1, 2, 3. And right over here it has 4 toes. Now, if you look at the lion's track in general, it can be up to 12 centimeters. So 12 centimeters is basically, I'm just going to use this ruler here, it's basically this size. So from the bottom of the page all the way up here, that's a lion track. So if I had to put my hand next to it, it's basically my whole hand. Whereas with the leopard, it's only up to 9, so it's probably that size, a big male leopard. So like his track will probably be around, let's say if we go to the back here, I'm just going to go to 9. So that's around about the size of his track. So it's not as big as that of a lion. However, when a leopard moves, the actual toes and the back pad looks like it's more delicate whenever they push down. So in other words, to illustrate this, is let's say if I had to take my hand like this and I had to push again like on a patch of sand, it's a very rough track of what we're seeing here. But a leopard, if I had to take my fingers and I had to push it down on the sand, it's clear but also more delicate and more well-rounded in comparison to that of a lion track. However, young lions and leopards can sometimes be mistaken because of the size of a cub's track. However, leopards tend to be by themselves. Where often if you do find, let's say, young lions, they will be with either an adult or there'll be quite a few of them that are together. I just want to go back to this leopard and see if he's still right there. It's hard to see him even from my angle here. Maybe those flies are just bothering him, so that's why he just lifted his head and flicked his ears to try and get rid of it. Father, with the lions that we find in this area and with this leopard, their territories overlap because territories are very species related. So in other words, a lion and a leopard's territory won't collide because a leopard will only collide with another leopard's territory. However, you might find, let's say with a big male lion, is you might find that there could be 2 or 3 different male leopards in that area where that male lion occurs. However, if that male lion, I think the better term to use instead of a or what I would refer to is maybe something, instead of a territory, it's more like a home range. It means it's an area where they would move because that's where they're going to get food and that's where they get water. But a territory is mainly for mating purposes. And because a lion doesn't really see leopard as a threat because of him mating with the females, it's more a threat in the sense that he's catching some of the food that's in the area or drinking some of the water. And because of that, he sees them as competition, and therefore they'll try and kill one another. Especially a big male lion doesn't really tolerate leopard or cheetah or even hyenas. That's probably what I would think of, or the way that I would think about it in terms of territories and home ranges and how they use that differently. And even for him, I mean, with this leopard, it might be that because he is getting to the age now where he is starting to become sexually mature, it might be in the next year or maybe year and a half that he would also establish his own territory. Maybe because of the fact that his father has moved out of there or something has happened to him, he might even take over this territory, unless a bigger, more stronger, dominant male comes in and then pushes him off. Hopefully, I'm sure for him, he's just, if he just stays in this area and he grows a bit more, who knows, maybe he might even stay here for the next couple of years. Be interesting to follow him around and see what's going to happen to him. That fly's really bothering him. But it's so relaxing just being able to sit here and pick up the different smells. It's that time of the year where most of the trees are flowering. You can hear quite a few of the birds that have come back, like the European bee-eater. You can hear some of the cuckoos. There's a rattling cisticola we can hear in the back. He doesn't move away, but he'd love to make himself known. And then, of course, the virtual starlings we can hear in the back.
Well, everyone, this took me, I've broken part of the car and it wasn't an easy ride, but it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Klangula. Some of you may have seen him. I think Tristan had him. And I think I've fallen in love. Sorry, Tangana. Your time is done. Wow, what a gorgeous boy. And the reason I raced here was Luna was here as well, and apparently they were both up the same tree. So I've missed Luna, she's ran away. But look at this boy. Ooh, almost. He is gorgeous. Dominant male in Buffelshoek. I don't know if he's limping. I think he has an injury on one of his front legs. I wish we could get Luna for you all. He's limping. There was a kill in the area, and that's why that. Yeah, he's limping. He's got an injury. Beach girl, you are asking how old is Klangula. I'm going to spell it for you. Nhlangula. But it's just a bit like Klalamba. And you're asking how old is he? He was born in late 2013. So that'll make him 7 now. Absolutely in his prime. Completely in his prime. For a male leopard. And he's very relaxed. Klangula. Now, he's one of the main dominant males in Buffelshoek, but what we've got to remember is that Buffelshoek is about 6 times the size of Djuma. And he was born in the Kruger, believe it or not. And he's obviously came this way and set up his territory. And Klangula is the Shangaan word for magic quarry tree, the quarry bush that we always talk about. I wonder, where is Luna and what was she doing here? I'm also desperate to see this female. Luna's a female up in Buffelshoek, young, slightly younger than Tlalamba, and she's very skittish, really skittish. She may change, of course, over the years. They're clearly not mating. I feel like I've just met a celebrity. I've been desperate to meet this leopard for such a long time, and we really weren't sure if we were going to get signal, but we have, and it's so worth it. Now, his father's unknown. Is believed to be possibly a male from the Kruger side, but his mother is Tambela. Yogeshwar, I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that question. So we're in the Lowveld right now, and a leopard like Klangula will never leave the Lowveld. So he won't experience other environments. But leopards are said to be the most adaptable of all the big cats, of all the Panthera cats. They're also the most widespread across the world. You find them in all sorts of regions, from mountain ranges to very dry, arid areas to sort of, well, the Lowveld. And there's 9 different subspecies, believe it or not, of leopards. And subspecies are essentially the same species, but they've just adapted over time to different geographic locations. And there's the Amur leopard, the Javan, the Araban, the North Chinese, the Sri Lankan, the Persian, the Indo-Chinese, the African, and the Indian. Boom. 9 different subspecies. So therefore, they will all thrive, each in their own environment. But if you're referring to if a male like Klangula can then adapt to a new environment, most likely they would adapt. But would he ever get the chance to adapt? I'm not sure. He wouldn't leave this area. We were talking about territory earlier, and once a male or female sets up a territory, they're not going to leave that area. The territory will shift, won't stay static, but they're not going to leave it. Talking of staying static, that's exactly what our vehicle is going to do.
Sorry about that, Tswalu. So we're still sitting here now, as you can see, all of our pride, Talamati pride, and then now just flat. Actually walks slightly distant from where we last have a visual of them, but now again it's just peacefully taking it easy. But this is a way of hunting. Sometimes they lost a lot of energy, and for that they need to conserve much of this energy. When they lie down, they gain more energy and they get going again. But hunting for them, it's such a mission. Sometimes can be a little bit of a delay if that destination, wherever they're going into, they don't reach in very much immediately same time. But they're well alert. So anything that moves around here, understand it's a little bit of a wind that picks up. disturbed a lot of the bushes, but they're still alert into it. What's so great is that they always approach the wind right now. They're moving in a southern direction where the wind blows to the northwards. So it's always advantage of them able to smell what's in front of them. But all cat species, when they hunt, they gotta use wind directions. That doesn't work if they don't, because they also have smells, which prey species all know that. These animals smells. If there's a danger around, this prey species are more likely to run off the area. And that means these animals, they have to then keep moving and moving, and no success. And the killing sometimes some part happen by surprise. Craig, you want to know if lions get furballs? Indeed, yes, they do. And you see them sometimes, they kind of like blowing the nostrils, but it's kind of like furballs do that, and leopard as well. And yeah, there's pretty much some like a cat. And I will just peacefully, if I have to judge the distance from where we started following them this afternoon, like maybe 2 kilometers away. But they're still going to move further than that during the course of the night. And it will be so cool that, tomorrow it's going to be a mission for us actually to able to find them. It'll be very much interesting to see what they've been up to. But I hope they stick around in this Juma, which our direction now, I think we is still in a block, but not far from Gary Dam, so we're between the boundary, northern boundary, and the dam. So if they're going to do another movement again, they're probably going to arrive at the dam waterhole, Gary Dam. And the male is still far out. Not even a visual of him. You're lying flat on the backside. He just let all females take it easy by themselves. And he won't participate with them so much in terms of going over them and without any business here, unless if the female, one of the females, she comes on estrus, and he will be coming very close to her, even separate her for a mounting. And that when happened, the rest of the pride will have to move and leave her alone, because she will be blocked not to follow them anymore. Until after 3 days later, and the mating's done, and she will be able to be free again, wanting to track them down, and hopefully she get to find them again. So we will take a few moments here, watch these cats, what they will be finally be doing for us.
Just as he is waiting out for those lions to do something, so we are patiently waiting for this leopard to move. Now, he has positioned himself now where he's facing more towards us, but he's like lowered his head, so it's really difficult to see where his head is. You can just see his ears moving now. Now, we have gone into infrared because we are losing quite a bit of light. And so, therefore, we can't really see him too well without the infrared. Even imagine for an antelope at night. So let's use this as an example. So I'm going to ask Owen just to switch the light off, and we'll go into normal color just to show you how difficult it is to see a leopard. Now imagine, like, this is all you're seeing, and if you zoom out, have a look at the environment. Now, if this leopard had to stalk an impala, how difficult would it be for an impala to know that this specific leopard is right there? I mean, for me, it looks like a rock. Unless we zoom in, then you can see a bit of spots, and if you zoom in, you might see the ears moving. But otherwise, it's not easy to spot this leopard. And I mean, and he's still lying in a gap. If he decided to go and move into a denser area, we won't be able to see him from any other angle except the one where we are now, almost looking down on him. So we'll go back to IR and then just get a bit closer towards him. Barbara, I'm sure they are able to hear us, even with the smell. I mean, he knows we're here. He knows the vehicle. He knows probably, like, he can differentiate and know there's people around here. But it doesn't bother him because he doesn't perceive us as a threat. So because we're sitting here, we're not moving into his personal space. I'm not walking around the vehicle, which puts a lot of pressure on him. He trusts us, and because of that, he knows we're here, but it doesn't affect him. I mean, if I can make another example, let's say if someone grew up in a city, and every single day they were used to, well, not every day, but they were used to vehicles driving past. Eventually, you'll cross the road, and a vehicle moves behind you. You'll know the vehicle is there, but you won't. It doesn't really matter. However, if you grew up in an area where you've never ever seen a car before, and a car comes in, I mean, the first reaction might be to run away, and then they're cautious. They'll approach very, slowly to try and see what it is, but they'll be very much aware of what that is. Whereas with him, he knows that this is not a threat. So he's seen it. He knows it hasn't been pushing into his personal space. It hasn't challenged him for food or tried to chase him out of the area. So he knows we're here, but he doesn't perceive us as a threat, and therefore he's still aware of us, but more so. He's probably, you'll see, we can talk loud and it won't affect him, but if a little branch cracked behind him, he'll probably jump up and start running because he associates that with danger and not us. Correct, they do relax and they can sleep, but they always have this semi-state of awareness where they do know what's going on around them. Maybe on a very warm day, if they're up in the tree and it's in the heat of the day, they might have like a bit of a deeper sleep, but as soon as something moves around them, like they'll know it's there. And also for them, lying down on the ground like this means that he's a lot more vulnerable to lions moving past, hyenas, even wild dogs that will probably chase him. And so because of that, he needs to be aware of what's going on around him, even though he is sleeping and resting. So it's just basically conserving as much as he possibly can, because even when he hunts, I mean, it takes a lot of energy for that. So you can't just necessarily like get up and start moving and try and hunt everything. Like he'll lie down, relax, wait until there's an opportunity, until he sees there's a good opportunity and put himself up for success. That's a really good question. It all determines probably about where and what area they might be, the level of experience that you are going to compare them with the other predators, as well as also their sheer number. I mean, like if you take a pride, let's say a pride of very skillful individuals of lions, and they are hunting together, chances are less likely of them getting an injury than having inexperienced youngsters trying to take down something like a buffalo. And it's the first time they're trying to take it down. And the same with the leopard. I mean, with a leopard like this, if we had to make that a comparison, is if he is the age that he is now, he has experience, but he's still quite inexperienced. But if you had to compare him against a pride of lions, because there's a lot more of them, the chances are they might try for something bigger, henceforth there'll be more chances of getting an injury, where with a leopard like this, the general rule of thumb is that they will try to hunt things that are always their size and smaller. And therefore, it reduces the risk of injury, but there's always going to be a risk of injury. I think just if you had to look at some of the animals that are capable of hunting bigger, more dangerous, the chances are just higher. And those that can go smaller, I mean, take for another example, if this leopard had to go for something because of how curious it is, or maybe if it's a young male and he doesn't get food, and let's say there's a python, he might try and kill the python. Let's say there's a mamba, he might try to kill the mamba, but of course if the mamba turns around, it could mean the death of this leopard. So touch and go, it's a really hard question, and I think there's no real answer to that, because it all depends on the individual and the sheer number as well as the experience. But what we'll probably do from here, if he doesn't move in the next minute or two, we'll probably leave him, carry on with our night drive, see what else we can find.
Good luck, Nikki, with finding anything else. Leopard is also very good to see. And same here with this, our pride of lions, since they went flat. And they're not actually, only actually rise their heads a little bit just to probably listening, because it's a lot of, wind disturbing bushes, and sometimes they're quite not sure what's going on. But it applies the same thing with a leopard. Lions, when they are injured, only worst part is that if that lioness, she won't able to follow up or keep up with the pride, she's more likely to be left behind by the members. And then the members are all going to go hunt, kill, eat. They weren't going to bring anything back, but they will return back to the area where they have left her to check. If then she won't able to move again, eventually sadly move away, but keep visiting the area. So it's always important that they all keep up in a group. Whatever they kill, they will be able to share here. Even if it's impala, I know the male is there, you're probably going to steal from them if it's a small prey like impala or grey duiker. A good prey that would feed the whole members of here, it's anything from kudu nyala, bull nyala, waterbuck, these type of wildebeest zebras. And then, of course, everybody will have enough to feed on. Sorry, it's another vehicle responding to this ride. So it's getting slightly dark. It's going to be very much interesting because the only time they hunt during the day, it's because they're pushed too much by hunger. And they can hunt also not only at night, but during the day. We've seen them move. But at night, it becomes so much important for them to do that because then they're well camouflaged. And prey species all just confused because of the darkness, even though they can still see a little bit. Kind of weather like this, could be that maybe, I don't know, it won't be drizzling, with no kind of report of drizzling, but if it was and wind picks up a bit, they will be pretty much mobile, pretty much at night, because they move free. They don't have to move carefully, disturb bushes, make noise of themselves. So we're gonna maybe try and see if there's a buffalo on the other side, but I'm gonna take another moment, have a look at them. If they don't move, then we're gonna probably look on the cut line for the buffaloes if they're around there.
We had to leave our handsome male, but I can assure you, I am over the moon. Ah, what a gorgeous male leopard. But you know, very much the northern side of Buffelshoek, that's his territory, but it has been spotted similar areas to Tingana. So I think very much Tingana, in my opinion, is nomadic now, and he's just sort of moving and weaving through other leopards' territories. So that's another new male leopard for us now that we've got Traverse on Buffelshoek, and unfortunately we couldn't follow him. But he's got a really swollen right paw. It's very swollen. I couldn't see any injury except the swelling, so he's limping quite badly, but hopefully he'll be absolutely fine, I'm sure. As we mentioned earlier, leopards are very adaptable, but they're also very resilient. Most animals are, and I'm sure he'll be absolutely fine. So sorry we didn't get to show you Luna, but now that we've got all this Traverse, we can show you new characters. And I'm sure you can see the weather's changing. I don't know if we're in for any sort of storm tonight, but the wind's picked up. And you can see those heavy grey clouds in front of us. So I imagine there's a possibility of rain. And then if the rain comes, we'll be complaining about the rain. And we'll be complaining about how cold it is. Can you believe it? I know, that's what we do here. Complain. Anyway, I'm headed back to Djuma.
Good luck. Thanks so much, Lorraine. To me as well, it feels like when I look at the sky over here, it's kind of like very much a heavy cloud. Not very much, but you know, it's a beautiful yawn. This lion sounds like when we see them yawn every time, is a sign of that they're probably gonna stand up or move. We'll see them roll over. Oh, there we go. One, she's up. Maybe changing position. No, I'm not going. It's cool now. The wind is picking up a bit than it was before. Sorry, you want to repeat that question again? Snail. Oh, thanks so much, Ian. Welcome to Evening Show. So, the smellest animals in cats, well, lions that do smell, for sure, without any chemical, but in the nature, they do actually have a smell of their own. Leopard have a smell, but not as much with the lions. If you downwind the lions, you're able to smell them. I would assume that sometimes the smell I would compare a little bit to kind of a domestic dog, pretty much, but slightly different. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I only put the lions pretty much on the kind of a smell. Leopard to smell less. I wouldn't talk about a hyena because then they're not part of lions or cats, anything, but those then they're even worse. If you want to talk about the hyena, even where they urinate, stink if too much. To dogs, also the same, stink pretty much. So it looks like all they're going to be just mobile soon, as all of them have started to get mobile or stood up. They're looking at the one that already moved off to see if this is the direction all of them they're going to take or not. So everyone, we're coming in the end of the show for this evening, and we just want to thank you all for being part of the show, and hopefully all you enjoy. Tomorrow we're going to be doing the same thing, trying to follow up on this cat, see how far they will be gone. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.